want to talk a little bit about financial assistance opportunities for Alabama landowners. And this is commonly known as cost share. However, a couple of years ago they said, look, we don't want to call this cost share anymore. And I said, well, what do you want to call it? And they said, well, let's call it doing good things for people. And I said, yeah, that rolls right off the tongue. You know, I said, yeah, that works great. But it still talks about sharing the cost of doing some things. So anyway, what assistance is available? Well, through the Farm Bill program, the government will share the cost of recommended habitat improvements. This means if you are approved, and that's the big if, that's the big thing, if you are approved, you're responsible for paying the entire cost of the practice. Then, when it's correctly implemented, you'll receive a predetermined payment for doing that. Okay? A lot of people get up because of the differences in some of these programs. They think, well, it's a program where it's going to pay me, you know, each year to do this or not to do this. No, that's not what this is about. Okay? This is, we get you a plan worked out. We figure out what you need to do in your place. You get approved. You go and do it. You pay for it. It's checked to make sure it meets the specs, and then you get a payment. Okay? That payment is decided ahead of time. You know how much you're going to get. Okay? It is based on a percentage of what that practice should cost. It's not based on what that practice costs. It's based on a percentage of what it should cost, what we think it will cost. We get that by looking at bills from previous years. How do you know if you'll get paid? Well, you don't. That's reassuring, I know. Okay? What we do, we're going to come out, we look at your property. You tell us what you're wanting to do, what your objectives are. We look at it, we see what practices are applicable. And then your property gets a score. It gets a ranking. And there's a lot of ranking criteria. Okay? And it's everything from, you know, is this the first time you've ever been in a cost share program, to are you planting longleaf, or are you doing 51% of your tract, and several different things are involved. One thing to keep in mind, good quail habitat, which is our primary species that we're trying to manage for, is normally good deer and turkey habitat. However, the reverse is not necessarily true. And as a matter of fact, I was just talking with Ted. He was telling me about an area that he works on where the quail area has the best deer weights of anywhere on that property. And so that just proves that. You know, it's good habitat all the way around. Keep in mind, wildlife has got to be with it just about like me, and that I like to eat every day. Okay? They do too. All right? If they can, they want to eat every day. A lot of time our mentality is, I've planted a food plot, I've done all I need to do for wildlife. And that's not true. Okay? That's just a small little part in time. We need to think about, hey, there's 12 months in a year. Remember that in your management. Before evaluating habitat, of course, you got to know what your objective is. When I come out and meet with you, look at your property, that's what I want to know. What is your objective? What do you want to accomplish here? If I don't know that, I'm sure not going to know what to recommend to you, or tell you what options are available. What you target, well, it could be quail. We hope that's what it is. That's what we try to work for. But then again, it could be cattle, you know. Or maybe it's aesthetics, something that looks good. Or maybe it's just pure timber. Or it could be hay, you know. Any of that could be your objective, or all of it could be. But let me tell you, you cannot maximize every bit of that on the same property. Did I say that you can't manage those things on the same property? No, I didn't say that. On the same acres, you're not going to manage it, all right? Diversity on any property is beneficial, okay? But you can't maximize for all that on the same acres, and you have to understand that. A diverse farm is very desirable. Most people have multiple objectives. That's great. However, if you want to manage with wildlife in mind, keep the wildlife in mind. Now you think, well, good grief, everybody knows that. Well, not necessarily. Everybody knows that the problem for quail is predators. I mean, that's just universal. Everybody knows that. And we don't have any shortage of predators out there. And yes, tabby, it stays around your porch, you think all the time, is a predator. But like I said, there's no shortage. You know, we can just keep looking. The woods are full of those. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but I get a call about them about every other week, so most of them are black. But anyway, the woods are full of them. All these things are predators. Okay? And then, of course, you have the number one predator, that, you know, the end of everything, the coyote, you know. However, I can tell you the best thing that you can do to limit predation on quail is provide optimal habitat. That's the way you handle predation on whatever species we're talking about. Have the best habitat that you can have. Okay? If you're worried about your fawns and that the coyotes are getting all of them, the best way to handle that is have good habitat. All right, things that these programs cover. One of them is the eradication of non-native grass. That's one of the programs that we have. One of the practices that we can put in there is a herbicide application to get rid of grass. Let me tell you, that's not easy. Okay, grasses don't go down without a fight. And so you're going to have to work on that. But once done, it will definitely improve your early successional habitat and increase your quail brood rearing habitat. And that's very important. Okay, that's normally done herbicide-wise. Also, on these open land, we provide prescribed burning on that. You've heard how good prescribed burning is, and all that's true. And we'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. But we do burning on open land as well as in woodlands, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The disking, I should have that reversed there. We do pay for strip disking, however, and let me just tell you that strip disking is a great practice, and I hope you've picked that up from me that I really like it. And it does provide some great habitat, but don't think you'll get rich by getting on a strip disking practice. And for the most part, I have gotten to where I don't recommend people to get on the program for the disking because the price is so little. It pays $15 an acre to do that. And if you go 1.375 miles, 6 feet wide, you come up with an acre. That's a lot of strip disking, okay? That's a lot of strip disking. But even bare dirt can be good habitat. It's a component of good habitat. Hedgerows. It don't matter how much food you've got, if you don't have any cover for wildlife to use, the food's not helping you. They got to have cover as well. One way you can do that is with hedgerows. We offer that. We ask that you, or we dictate that you will plant Chickasaw plums to make your hedgerow with. That or cedar. You can use some other stuff. We do no longer recommend autumn olive and things like that, which were once recommended. That and bicolor and all that. We want you to use a native now, but cover is essential. Okay, and they need to be wide enough that avian predators can't get in from the sides. If a lot of times I tell people put you in a hedgerow and they'll put one row of something in there, and they think that they've done a good job, but one row of anything don't really give any cover when you can still come in from each side. It's got to be wide enough that it's going to provide some cover that quail or whatever can get inside there and the other things can't. Planting, we offer hardwood tree planting, and I think Patrick did a good job of covering hardwood today and talking about how hardwood is not a necessity. Now, I love hardwood, okay? I think that's beautiful. I think it's a great component. You should have it on, everybody should have some of it on their property. But it is not a necessity like a lot of people think it is. He did a good job with that. What we primarily do as far as hardwood tree planting is when we're trying to restore an SMZ somewhere where the hardwood should not have been removed, something like that, then we'll do a hardwood planting in situations like that. Loblolly planting is available. It's only in equip. We don't do that in whip. Right here. Longleaf planting. That also, we've upped that. It used to be 8 by 12, now it's an 8 by 10. What we say is between 400 and 545 trees per acre is what we'll see out there on longleaf. And of course, that's probably our most popular program going right now, or practice, is the planting of longleaf. And of course, we do site prep and planting of containerized seedlings, and that's the only thing you can plant under our program is containerized. Why longleaf? For wildlife. And we've been through this today, but we're going to hit on it one more time. And the main reason is early and often burning. You get to start burning it early, you can burn it often, and that's what gives the wildlife benefit. The tree itself is not necessarily that much greater wildlife-wise, although it has a lot of other great attributes. But it's the burning, it's the management is what does it for us. Okay? I've had some people say you can't kill them. Don't believe that, all right? You can kill them, okay? But they are very resistant, okay? A Pier, this was just, Ted covered this real well. You see the sweet gum resurgence in there. We have a mid-rotation release practice. We'll come in on mid-rotation and spray that with a Pier, try to clean that up and get a better composition of what's coming up in there. That should be followed with burning. there you have it. We recommend a lot of burning, and we pay for a lot of burning. And what a difference some daylight makes. You get it opened up with some thinning, you do some burning, and you get this kind of flush of growth in there, and that's what you're looking for wildlife-wise. You may have a stand that looks something like this. And I know this was talked about earlier today, but we do offer a pre-commercial thinning. You get in there and you just got a jungle, you want to get in there and try to thin that out, that's usually done by this guy. You know, we'll be into him. So that's another one. This is a new thing, and I don't know much about it. I didn't know that we even had it until this week. But there's going to be a brush management practice. And it's primarily going to be talking about mulching and such as that. We did not have a practice for that, but we will have this year. I don't know all the ins and outs about it, but it is something that's going to be available at least in equip. I don't know whether it will be in whip or not. Native grass planting. Native grasses, you've heard about them already today. They're excellent for wildlife because they're a clump type grass. The way that they grow, wildlife can move around in there. They also, of course, provide food. Very important, and there's a practice for that. Also, on the rest of your property, we will create openings there. We want to try to get the property to about 5% in openings. So that's important that you have open area. I've heard that talked about already today. We'll help you do that. And an opening don't have to be planted. A lot of people have a misconception that, man, you've got to plant that or it's not any good. That's not true, okay? But it must be managed, okay? It don't have to be planted, it must be managed. It can be planted, okay? Also, we have a couple different rates on that. If you've got an area that's got a lot of stumps that need to be taken out, you'll get a higher rate versus when you're just trying to clean up something that might just be some saplings and all, that'll be a little lower rate. So those things are available. Also, if you want to work on some roadside, that's some good habitat a lot of times, and that's available. You know, the opening don't have to be a square acre. Matter of fact, we want it to be linear and with wavy edges on it. Also, the establishment of reseed legumes and application of lime. That's important. You know, we say that lime doesn't cost, it pays. Best thing you can do is put lime on your property to see better production. You combine that with planting some reseed legumes out there, and you can have a lot better habitat. There is a payment available to do that. A practice, I should say. Hopefully that's what you'll end up with, a lot of partridge feed like that. Let me just say that lime really does make a difference. This was a chart that I got a couple of years ago, and I put it together. If fertilizer's costing $700 a ton, this shows you how much that you're losing if your pH is not what it should be. If your pH is 4.5, then you're wasting $499, okay? If it's 5.0, you're only wasting $376. 5.5, $229, 6, $138. So, you know, hey, everybody's got plenty of money just to throw in the trash. But anyway, lime it pays. Feral hogs, you know, everybody's favorite new thing. Hey, let's go hunt these hogs. It's great, we've got hogs. It's not great. Those of you who have them know it's not great. There is a practice where we will pay for you to put traps out on your property, build a trap, put it on your property. Last year that was for 200 acres, we'll give you one trap. Additional 200, we would pay for you to develop a trap. We'll give you 2 of them if you've got 400 acres. There are specs on how you have to build those and everything, but you can apply for that and get funding to build some traps. And if you got hogs, or if you think you've got hogs, you need to go ahead and start trapping hogs, because the reproductive rate is unbelievable, and I'm sure y'all probably heard a good bit on that, but there's something else. Okay, where do I sign up? Sign up for multiple programs. I already talked with you about that. Where you sign up is at your local NRCS office. There's one in most counties. Now, a lot of counties are joined. As I told you, I've got 3 counties in my one office. So it depends on what county you're in. But you can, well, let me tell you this. If you sign up for these programs, you may or may not receive any funding. Like I said, there's no guarantee. But if you don't sign up, you definitely won't receive any funding, okay? So if you want to make sure you don't get any, don't sign up. That's all you got to do, okay?